Now, I told you that yesterday. It astonished me. I didn't quite understand that. He is an American citizen, naturalized American citizen. I was not aware that Americans had travel privileges that could be revoked, unless, of course, you were under some kind of criminal complaint and a court had said you're not going anywhere. But today, I'm troubled to tell you this. I believe Washington Post is reporting today that in attempting to verify Mr. Khan's story, they have been unable to do so. They have been unable to reach him. And it's unclear what he could have been talking about. The Canadian Foreign Ministry said they don't have any idea. We are unaware, according to a spokesperson, of any restrictions regarding this traveler. And I just have to say I'm troubled by this because I'm fearful that this man who I held up has stumbled a bit. Did he say this? And it's not true because it's unclear who would have ever told him that your travel privileges are being reviewed. So here is what he said to the people who had invited him to Toronto for the speech. This turn of events is not just of deep concern to me, but to all my fellow Americans who cherish our freedom to travel abroad. I have not been given any reason as to why. I am grateful for your support and look forward to visiting Toronto in the near future. So, just again to clarify, the Washington Post has reached out to him to try to find out more, like where did he get this this thing that said his travel privileges were being reviewed, and uncomfortably for me, he has not responded to the Post. I'm just saying that's a follow-up. The other thing I was talking about, how Ben Carson, despite being a brain surgeon, is a friggin' idiot. And his comments regarding the slaves being immigrants. I didn't have the complete quote. I have it here, and I just wanted to share it with you. He said this. He was talking about America as a magnet for people who dream. And he said this: they arrive with all of their earthly belongings in their two hands, not knowing what this country holds for them. And then he went on and said this: there were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, who worked even longer, even harder, for less, but they too had a dream that one day they might pursue prosperity and happiness in this land. That's the quote. There were other immigrants in the bottom of slave ships who worked harder for less. They worked for nothing. They worked under the lash and under terror. Jeez, God. All right, that's all. And then speaking of people with dreams, I just have to share with you, I had a dream the other night that could only have come from living right now in the United States of America. I dreamt, I was in the dream, it's unclear to me, but I was being hunted. And by authorities. It was a clear refugee dream, a dream of it was the most nightmarish thing. It was terrifying. I was hiding, I was thising, I was thatting, people were being killed around me. I woke up at my heart just pounding. I did not get back to sleep. I've never had a dream like that, ever in my life. If I'm having that dream, somebody who is, I don't think, at risk of being rounded up immediately, can you imagine the millions of people in this country now who must have this nightmare regularly and even obviously in their waking hours? I've been reading pieces about how school districts around the country, especially those with large immigrant populations, are trying to figure out what they could do if an ICE agent shows up at the school wanting to grab a student. Do they have the right to resist? What are their responsibilities, and what does the law require of them? This is America. March 8th, 2017. So I was supposed to not be here today. I was supposed to take off. So were you, Celine. We were supposed to leave Carlo here in the lurch. All the ladies were supposed to disappear a day without women so that everybody would be aware of how much we do. The problem is, this is a folly of an exercise, because the only women who reasonably could take part in such an event are women with job security. I mean, you'd be insane if you were a woman with no job security to take this day off just to make a point of how valuable your labor is. And it strikes me as the usual sort of easy to dump on the feminist movement for always being just a little bit out of touch with the lives of most women, with feminists being an elitist kind of white privileged group who could, well, yes, I'll just call in and say, I'm sorry, I'm taking part in this. But if you're a waitress, if you're a maid, if you're a nanny, if for a million other things, if you don't have a union to protect you, which obviously 90% of all workers do not, then you don't take part in this. Okay, so I must say I'm less than, and I'm here. Okay, God knows I took off enough time in the last few weeks, but I wish folks would comprehend that the women who really need help are not white corporate professionals. They got their own problems, right? Right. God knows. They don't have equal pay for equal work. They still deal with lots of stuff, but it ain't anything compared to what poor and marginalized women deal with. The phone number, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you care to attempt to be the first caller on our new phone line and probably go right down the tubes. I'm guessing it isn't going to go well, but that's just because I'm a pessimist. The phone number is 412-200-5686. Be the first person on your block to make an unintelligible call to Lynn Cullen. No one's calling. What happened to our gentleman caller? Anyway, okay. It'd be nice if somebody would call just so we can see how fucked up this is. I'm sorry. I'm being obnoxious. So, Did you see that in order to pay for the border wall, the Mexican wall, which, by the way, and they'll pay for it. The Mexicans will pay for it. No, guys, hello, we're paying for it. And in order to pay for it, they're going to cut the Coast Guard budget and the FEMA budget. They're going to handicap the ability of the feds to respond to tragedies and hurricanes and natural disasters, and they're going to cut the Coast Guard that really does, more than a wall, provide border security beyond belief. We have a call. What's his, who? Clarence. Oh, Clarence. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You're loud and clear.
So are you. At first, while I was on hold with the machine, heard, that's it. I said, oh, my goodness, this is going to be a good connection. But when you came on, it was perfectly clear.
Okay. What was happening when you were on hold? What?
They have that automated voice.
Yeah.
Please hold while you get on the air here. And it was
that
scratchy. That was scratchy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, maybe
But when you cast it, yeah. It worked out fine. As long as I sound clear on air, I'm good. I have absolutely nothing to say about anything. He said, hey, be the first caller. I was like, oh, I'm Clarence from Cannesburg. I could be the first caller. So, to the new place.
Yeah. We have a long history, this caller and me, and so it seems only fitting and proper. You sent me by email a very esoteric quote from who the other day? Do you remember?
Bertrand Russell.
Bertrand Russell, the British philosopher. Yeah. And I'm not even sure I understood it. I think
you remember you were talking about the dishwasher. I forget what country he was from. For that restaurant, they made him co-owner or something like that.
From originally from Ghana, maybe. Gambia, and now Denmark, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And am I breaking up?
No. I just lost my email. That's okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to try to find the quote real fast in my files, but
okay.
It talked about how basically people in America say we're created equal when it's above you, but nobody tends to think we're created equal when it's you're looking down. Yeah.
That's right. So we believe in yes, everyone is created equal when we're looking up. Is that it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, I'm trying to find. I have a bunch of Bertrand Russell quotes.
But when we're looking down, we're less inclined to And maybe did that come up because of what I was saying about the Pope saying that every human life has the same value, has the same
And talking about how in Switzerland, how this dishwasher he was the highest paid guy.
One of the highest paid
in the
yes.
restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is so alien. That is so alien to us. We can't even conceive of it. But, I've always argued, you find out who has the jobs that really should be valued during a garbage strike, right? Right?
Yeah.
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 I picked up garbage from the ages. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, if 100 hedge fund managers, went on strike, who gives a shit, right? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? In fact, the world might be better. But if the guys who pick up the garbage go on strike, we're screwed. And yet, we don't value that necessary work.
Yeah, like in teachers. Just things like that. It's and I don't know who started this. I think it's because we're still adjusting from having like kings and lords and all that whatnot. We still haven't adapted our brains to that yet. For some reason, I don't know. So, you want to hear the exact quote?
Yes, do it.
Okay. I'm terrible reading on the radio.
Oh,
in America, everybody is Okay. In America, everybody is of the opinion that he has no social superiors, since all men are equal. But he does not admit that he has no social inferiors. For from the time of Jefferson onward, the doctrine that all men are equal applies only upwards, not downwards.
Okay. Well, there's obviously a great deal of truth in that.
Yeah.
Hey, you. Thanks, and you made history today, Clarence. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, by the way, the studio looks good. Everything sounds good. All that stuff. So.
Isn't that nice? And we got room for guests. Don't have to sit on my lap.
Oh.
And it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're welcome. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Aaron writes this. At least on my YouTube app, when I started the show today, it's being brought to me by Vagisil. What is that, a lubricant? What's Vagisil? A lubricant? Something with vaginal thing.
I think it's like an irritation treatment.
Oh, it's for, whatever. Vagisil. If you let the ad play, it goes through the history of vaginal itch. The history of vaginal itch. Since time immemorial, women have suffered from itchy vaginas. And Aaron says, man, I learned all kinds of things I never knew. Okay, and he also says, show is coming together beautifully, and as a Point Park University student, I'm glad you're on campus. We're glad too. Audio and video are way better, onward and upward. Next step, though, 2 hours. Please have a great day. Thank you very much. Damn it, it keeps knocking me off. Okay. Another quote. Can you do another quote? This is from a guy named Stephen Covey, and he's written a book called The Speed of Trust. And he talks about the fact that what's happening now in America that is most frightening is the erosion of trust in any of our institutions, of trust in, media, intelligence operations, government, you name it. We don't trust it anymore. And so it needs to be pointed out, because the loss of trust is about as dangerous a thing as there is. The quote is thus: there is one thing that is common to every individual, relationship, team, family, organization, nation, economy, civilization, anywhere in the world. One thing that is common. And one thing that, if it is removed, will destroy the most powerful government, the most successful business, the most thriving economy, the most influential leadership, the greatest friendship, the strongest character, the deepest love. Once it is lost, it will destroy everything from a government to love. And that is trust. And so this ongoing campaign by the right to destroy the trust that Americans had in media and in government is about as destructive a thing as could be unleashed against a government that they purport to, a country, that they purport to love. And they've been extraordinarily successful. And what could be more dangerous than having in the White House a president who clearly you cannot trust, who lies to us with a casualness that is breathtaking. Imagine if there is a crisis. It's not hard to do. Imagine if there is a crisis, global, of some sort. This is the man that then will be there to lead us. That is impossible because he does not have our trust. So we are a captainless ship, and that is a scary thing. Tony says, not on topic, but today I read that the Falcon laid an egg. Oh, the Falcon in the Gulf Tower over there. They haven't used that nest in years. I love to watch the Falcons and the Eagles. With the Hayes camera losing its view this year, that was good news to me. Okay, so the Falcons have an egg, and my understanding is that the Eagles in Hayes, whose tree blew down, and with it their egg, have built a new nest and have laid one egg. Is that correct? I believe we've got now 2 eggs, right? 2 eggs. And that's good. We have a call. I need to know who. Huh? Joe. Hello, Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine.
I think right now America's just got a bad virus, and we'll get over it. We'll survive. We might do some damage. We won't die from it, but we'll get through this. I really do believe that.
Well, we won't die from it, but we are already weakened.
There'll be some damage, definitely. But we'll come out of this. I'm almost positive.
So you're back
I
to your optimism, huh? Why? And what gives you
right.
what gives you this sense of optimism?
Because there's screw-ups, and those people can't get along. So they're not going to get much done. I really don't think they're fighting over this health care bill already. So I just think it's going to be like stalemate. I don't know.
Well,
you don't think that?
No, I think the
You think
damage.
you're going to get some?
I think the damage that can be done is extraordinary. Is just it already is. I was reading today.
Well, the immigration,
You know what? I was reading today just about the new guy at the Environmental Protection Agency, and I was reading about the people he was putting into positions of power, and it makes you want to weep. I remember that old television ad where that magnificent Native American turns to the camera and a tear rolls down his handsome cheek. Yeah. It's the crap these guys are going to try to pull is beyond belief. And if you look already at the regulations that they have scuttled, at what they are offering to the rich and the powerful and the corporate leadership, it's frightening. We the people, those Trump voters, man alive, did they get seriously snookered.
The Democrats right now need to have this winning strategy of pro-worker, pro-union, pro-worker rights, and push that far as they can. That is a winning strategy. If you stay on the side of the workers, you'll win. If you just go on this other stuff, it's okay to have the social issues, but the other stuff, but you have to go with the worker because the pocketbook issues, it's going to win every time, and they didn't do it the last time. Hillary didn't talk too much about it.
Yeah, you know what? You're dead on. You are dead on.
That's what they got to do.
And the Democratic Party went astray. You don't win on these, socially issues. You do not. We lost our base, for God's sake. We lost the workers. All we got are a bunch of briefcase-toting professionals. Ain't enough of us. Okay. Hey,
but
thank you.
That's what they got to push.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
thank you.
Thank you. And as a matter of fact,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna read the words of a wonderful old guy named Charles Peters, who founded a publication called Washington Monthly. And he and his stuff gave rise to some of the greatest journalists we've got going today. They started with him. People like James Fallows and David Ignatius. And his name is, I guess I told you, Charles Peters, if you didn't know. He's written yet another book at the age of 91 called We Do Our Part. And like the caller, he says he thinks we're going to get through this. He thinks we are a great country that will continue to survive. But, he says, it only happens if we change our ways. Which then, of course, the pessimist, that's me, stands up and says, and what are the odds of that happening? He says that the Democratic Party, as the caller said, is doomed unless it gets back to its roots of being the party of the common man, of the worker, of the regular guy and gal, rather than the liberal professional class that it now represents. He says this in part, our national problem is that too many of our cultural winds are blowing us in the direction of self-absorption, self-promotion, and making a barrel of money. He even calls on Barack Obama to not do what other presidents have done, except Jimmy Carter. And that is, don't go for the big bucks, which he already has with his book deal. Don't play with the high and mighty, which he already has by vacationing with Richard Branson. He's begging Obama to not make a lot of money. Don't hang out with Anna Wintour. And instead use your status, your power to teach America how government works, to inspire a new generation of leaders. And he said, you can't do that if you continue this role model that's developed of late, of after you do your service, you cash in. Barack Obama does not need to cash in any more than he already has. He has millions and millions and millions. And if you think about it, Jimmy Carter's the only one who didn't do it. I guess George Bush, in a way, didn't do it either, but he doesn't have to. It comes from money. And it's easy, of course, to tell the black guy, don't cash in, after all the white folks have. But I get his point. I get this guy's point. He says there's gotta be a return to the awakening of a collective peoplehood, a nation, of service to that nation. Yeah. I mean, I could go back to squawking about there should be a year. Every single citizen of this country should have to do a year of service. And you know what? You know what else that would do? If we establish programs where kids from Appalachia and kids from the Upper West Side of New York City actually had to come together for a year, working in some manner, right, together, you could recreate again a nationhood, a sense of a disparate people knowing each other. That's what public education, Betsy DeVos, used to do. When I went to public school, everybody was there. The kids of the rich, the kids of the poor. Everybody. We mixed. We knew each other. We got to know each other. No one was really the other. We got to get back to this. We have got to, or we are doomed. All right. Back to that flummoxed, bamboozled Trump voter. I got an Exhibit A today. I'm looking at her picture. Her name is Martha Browley of Monroe, North Carolina. She's got her picture in the New York Times today. Right up there. She voted for Donald Trump specifically because she needed less expensive health care, she thought. She got health care from the Affordable Care Act, from Obamacare, but she wanted it. Trump was saying, that was awful. I'm going to get you something better, and she bought it. In fact, it was the first time she'd ever voted. And you know what? Ms. Browley, 55, was feeling increasingly nervous yesterday based on what she'd heard about the new plan. She currently pays about $260 a month for a plan and receives a subsidy of $724 a month. And under the plan that the Republicans have put out, she would receive $5,188 less, and no assurance that she could get the plan that she currently has. Her quote in the New York Times is, "I'm scared. I'll tell you that right now. I'm scared. The thought of not having insurance at my age." She just had a biopsy, by the way, on her liver. She voted for Trump, she said. I thought he would make it better. Well, how many of these people are going to wake up? Like her. And what a wake up. What a wake up it will be. You'll see more and more of these stories. Apparently, this great health care plan that the Republicans have come up with is really going to screw older people. Americans in their 50s and 60s especially are going to find coverage that had been affordable, now unaffordable. That's why the AARP has come out vociferously against it. The New York Times says no wonder they hid the health bill. Now that we see it. Here's reality. Here's fact. More than 20 million Americans gained health care under Obamacare. And the experts who have been crunching the numbers, Standard & Poor's among them, now say that with this Republican redo, easily half of those 20 million could lose their care. Medicaid, you know what? And they go after poor people all the time. Do you know there's some kind of a tax break for insurance company executives in this plan? Republicans. Can you imagine waking up every morning and jumping out of bed and thinking, ho, I get to go to work and screw poor people and enrich the rich even more. Hee-ha! Can you imagine that mindset? The classic, you got this evil SOB, Jason Chavez, what he said yesterday. Well, I think people are going to have to invest in their health care rather than getting that new iPhone. This is this classic, totally Republican, doesn't have a clue, out of touch with real people's lives. This is Reagan talking about the welfare recipient driving a Cadillac. Health insurance generally costs about $18,000 a year for an average family. That's unbelievable. That's insane. An iPhone, what does that cost, Chavitz? You don't pay a friggin' cent for your Cadillac health care. We pay for it. We're going to pay for the wall. We're going to pay for Melania finally getting the ability to not have to live with that gargoyle she married. So we're paying for her to stay in New York. We're paying for him to go on vacation every friggin' weekend and play golf. We are paying for all of this crap, and we're going to lose our health care. The guys who are going to take it away, they keep theirs, and we pay for that as well. Just keep focused, okay, on the outrageousness of this. So back to what I was saying. So I was reading about how they're going to pay for the wall. And Mexico will pay for the... Jesus Christ. No, we're paying for the wall, and they're actually going to build it. The waste of money is beyond belief. And he is going to take money from the Coast Guard, which actually functions as a national security buffer that works. The Coast Guard that patrols our ports, the very entry points where, in fact, we are very vulnerable. He's going to take money from the Coast Guard to build his friggin' stupid-ass wall. He's going to take money from FEMA so the next time a hurricane comes through or huge flooding happens on the East Coast or the southern coast, we ain't going to be able to respond to help those people as much because we have to build a stupid-ass wall to keep people out who have never perpetrated a terrorist attack against us. I saw somebody tweet something that I thought was pretty good on this. You know what? They said cutting the Coast Guard and FEMA to pay for the wall is like paying for a sign that says, "Warning, guard dog," by selling the guard dog. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. Phone number again, folks. 412-2000-5686. We're going to get something back here that will have the number on it. And also Lynn at PGH City Paper if you care to talk at me in that manner. Okay? Oh, geez. What else we got? Having trouble sleeping? I just want to share this little factoid or two with you because I found them fascinating. A lot of people are having trouble sleeping. I know so many people who do. It's just amazing. I don't know how people function. I, in my life, have had a few bouts of sustained insomnia, but not a lot. And generally, I'm a good sleeper. But here again is a reality check. Virtually nothing about what we think of as the standard model of sleep existed just 2 centuries ago. So in all of human history, the way we think sleep is supposed to happen is really just a little, didn't used to be that way. Didn't used to be that way at all. And it could well be that the pattern we have for sleep now is not conducive to the way we live and or for our own health. You may recall that sleep, even when the founding fathers were around, it was something that people did together. There's hysterical stories of Ben Franklin and John Adams sharing a bed many times. So men would sleep together. Nothing was thought. That's what, there's a bed and you pile as many people in as you can and you slept. Their problem is Franklin, I think it was Franklin always wanted the windows open, and Adams thought that, there were bad vapors they were on opposite ends, and of course Franklin was right about that. But perfect strangers traveling together, let's say in a stagecoach, and you pull up to a little place where you're going to stay for the night. Perfect strangers, guys, would share a bed, would get in bed together. So when did we start sleeping in this private manner? The Industrial Revolution. That's how new it is. Solitary sleeping. First of all, the sleep had to work for the factory shifts. I mean, it's odd, but we started to sleep in ways that allowed us to, of course, then work. Once people got the idea that sleep could be private, and once they got the money that sleep could be private, that a person could have their own bed, you know who freaked out? This would be in the 1800s. You know who freaked out? The people who thought, this can't be. We cannot let this happen. Everyone's going to be masturbating. I'm not kidding. That's what it was. No! You can't have people in their own beds. They're all going to be masturbating. Get this, in the 19th century, there were a ton of appliances that people could buy to discourage masturbation now that they were in their own beds. There were erection alarms. There was something called penis cases. Oh, God almighty. And do you know that these are just these little facts about sleep that I just love. Dr. Spock, who supposedly was the guru when I was a child, he told parents to secure children in bed with a loop of badminton net. Jeez. I don't think my parents did that. But what's interesting is when we started this industrial revolution way of sleeping, that's when people started reporting insomnia. We slept better when sleep was social. We slept better when we weren't shunted off into our own private sphere at night. So, says right here that industrialization did not just privatize sleep, it also consolidated it and then shoehorned it into rhythms that benefited commerce and the rhythms of capitalism rather than our own body's needs. And we then became servants of clock time. not just when we were punching the clock at work, but also when we could carve out time to sleep. So anyway, just if you're interested in this, there's a book out that's supposedly a lot of fun called Wild Nights. And it is about how this taming of sleep that happened in the Industrial Revolution created our own world of insomniacs. Hey, we think we're so smart. Okay. I just have to read this. Again, I read a lot and I come across stuff and then I think, geez, I got to share that with them. Listen to this. It's a little scary, but just listen. I'm reading. This is okay. It is a disgrace which gets worse with every day that passes. Politics everywhere, and everywhere the terrorism of the right. It is astounding how easily everything collapses. It's shocking how day after day, acts of violence, breaches of law, barbaric opinions appear quite undisguised as official decrees, and each new decree more shameful than the previous one. The liberals tremble. And finally, I, for my part, will never again have faith in Germany. That was written in the 30s by Victor Klemperer, a German Jewish scholar who found himself in a time of that we can now at least more readily comprehend. Because as I read that, it could have been written today in the United States. Just saying. That was a educated German Jew watching what was happening to his country with such astonishment, saying how easily everything collapses. How shocking. These every day brings with it these new pronouncements. Children will be separated from their parents at the border. Women seeking a measure of protection from a court will instead themselves be arrested. Welcome to our country. Okay, and until Democrats get back to their roots, away from the briefcases, back to the people, the regular, ordinary people, the ones that don't necessarily have college degrees. Huh? Remember those people? Until Democrats get back to understanding that the closer a governmental entity is to them, in other words, your city government, as opposed to your state government, as opposed to the federal government, the closer it is to you, the larger the impact on your life. Consequently, national elections, the election for president, is probably the least most important election to vote in if you're concerned about the impact on your life of the results of the election. It's those boring elections. City councils, county councils, school boards. state legislatures that make a difference. And we have pointed out that while the Democrats have gone to sleep with their briefcases, the Republicans have been scarfing up state legislatures left and right. They control the lives of most people in the United States. Republicans do. By virtue of paying attention to the little people. Even if they mislead them, they do pay attention to them. So you know what all these Republican legislatures are doing now? Hey, God. I mean, besides bathroom bills and important stuff like that. This is where the ACLU can't keep up. In legislature after legislature, and I'm not aware of any here in Pennsylvania yet, where we are in the thrall of conservative Republicans in Harrisburg, and the chance of us ever dislodging ourselves from that, not good in the next 20 years. I mean, that's how long it might take if Democrats are ever again to have power. So, what they're doing is they're passing laws that will essentially criminalize protests. They don't like all us people in the street. They don't like it. Never mind the First Amendment, but they don't like it, and they are coming up with some fascinating and draconian ways of suppressing Americans' right to protest. Tennessee. They've got legislation introduced that would, get this, if a motorist accidentally, drove over somebody who happened to be protesting in a street, the motorist would not be liable. So, in other words, drive over protesters. That hasn't passed yet, and I doubt very seriously whether it would, even in a Republican legislature. An Iowa bill would make blocking roads a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Similar legislation in Mississippi would impose a fine up to $10,000 for blocking a road. In the state of Washington, there is a bill put forward by a Republican senator who ran Donald Trump's campaign in that state, and he has filed legislation that would make it a felony to commit, get this, economic terrorism. When asked to define what the hell is that, economic terrorism, well, that would be anything you would do to obstruct economic activity. So, that could be a strike, I guess. That could be a boycott. And that, under Republicans, Trump Republicans, would now be classified as economic terrorism. There's a lot of bills out there that would allow cities to sue protesters for the cost of policing the protests. And in North Carolina, another proffered measure would make it illegal to, get this, make it illegal to threaten, intimidate, or retaliate against state officials. Oh, I can't intimidate that state official. What does that mean? I can't oppose? What are they? It's like these guys don't even know there's a First Amendment. And the First Amendment allows access to, guess what? Sidewalks. Guess what? Public places. Guess what? Even public streets. The courts have so decreed. Now, granted, if you have a demonstration and you don't secure the necessary permit, then you are not as obviously protected. But none of these draconian measures are about that. They are about the stifling of one of Americans' greatest civil rights, which is the right to protest. It does amount. You know, they never would have come up with these during the Tea Party movement. Remember when the Tea Party was hot? They were the protesters then. And, of course, that would not be something that they would want to stop. Okay, the WikiLeaks thing, I just have this to share with you. It's mind-boggling. We were talking again yesterday about this stupid doll, these toys that, in fact, can be spying on you, and how all these objects that now are connected are all potential spy bots. So I'm just going to give you this from the Washington Post today by way of a goodbye. So the WikiLeaks latest dump about how the CIA is able to surveil us shows how the CIA is already using everyday devices to spy. Televisions, smartphones, even antivirus software that you put on your computer. They're all vulnerable to CIA hacking, according to the documents that got released yesterday. And if you read them, they talk about they're able, through your TV, your smartphone, to record sounds, images, private text messages, even when they are encrypted. Listen to one of the CIA tools that got exposed yesterday. It's called Weeping Angel. And it is used, it's a tool they've developed for attacking specifically Samsung smart TVs. And here's what Weeping Angel does. After infestation, after it gets into your Samsung television, it places the target TV in a fake off mode. So the owner falsely believes the television is off when in fact it is on. And in fake off mode, the TV operates totally as a bug, recording conversations in the room and sending them over the internet to a covert CIA server. CIA reportedly also has studied whether it could infect vehicle control systems, and it can, for cars and trucks. And by doing that, but see, hackers can do this too. They were saying the CIA could use this to conduct nearly undetectable assassinations. So someone they want to get's driving in their car, and all of a sudden they're going to take that car over and plow it into a building. It's an assassination. It just doesn't look like one. So, guys, I'm left with this. There is no privacy. Assume everything, not that they're interested in you, but they have these capabilities. And if comes the day when your government is interested in you, which, as I have said, we now can imagine, we are in real trouble. The world amounts to what? Countries and intelligence agencies just hacking each other left and right. What a world. Okay, Joe, just so you know, that television could be spying on you, and the little baby doll there on the corner of the couch, she's recording every word you say. Ah! Okay, sorry, didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Blew Celine Zero out. Thank you so much. We have a phone. We've got it all, huh? We're done. We're set to go. We are so excited. I'm glad to be here, and we'll get a little more stuff back here. And la-dee-da. Thank you, Point Park University. I love this. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.